Hello everyone, welcome back. So in today's session we are going to see a new framework, or you can say a tool or a automation framework, whatever you say depending on the context that you take it. But then it is basically a new framework on top of your Selenium. So as I see that most of us by this time at least would be aware of this Selenium, what it is, and then how do we really use it to automate our browser elements and then different actions, and then the basic page object model and executing those things in any of the language that you are comfortable with. Okay, so we are going to see a new framework, or let's say that a new tool, that is WebdriverIO. So I have already done an practice on the Cypress, and I have uploaded a couple of videos as well on the Cypress. Now Cypress with TypeScript, that is what which made me interest to kind of pitch into that and understand what it is. And then today there is a new tool that is coming into the market, is the WebdriverIO. It has been in couple of months or been a year into this market. So today we are going to evaluate the WebdriverIO, how it is and what is the benefit, and then how do we really do a get started with. So it's not basically an extensive end-to-end actually the features that we are going to discuss, but it is basically how do we really get into the WebdriverIO, what is the starting point, and then from there actually we will go over from there. Okay, so for that I was doing couple of understanding the documentation from the creator itself. So if you go to the WebdriverIO, they have created a nice documentation. That is what actually which attracted me to get into this, and also in our organization as well, like lot of talks are going on that WebdriverIO we are going to do that. So now it is the TypeScript especially that is becoming more popular these days as a programming language. Okay, so the main reason that I felt is that most of the front-end developers are using TypeScript, whether it is Angular, React.js, or whatever the front-end tools they are using, the TypeScript is becoming their language, and that's how it becomes a unit testing framework and also for UI testing, and that is how the TypeScript become popular. That is my take, but probably there are several other reasons. Some people say it is the learning curve is really good, it is basics and good to understand. Yes, those are also the points actually, because if you know C# or let's say Java or let's say Python, the TypeScript is becoming more easier actually to understand. There is nothing much a lot that you need to spend time to understand that. So that is one of the benefit, and then WebdriverIO supports the TypeScript as well. Now what is WebdriverIO? So as the name suggests, it's a next-gen browser and mobile automation framework. So that is again made me more interested to learn this and then do more and more investigation inside this. So it is, and now what exactly is, how basically it does the browser and mobile automation. So when you see the internals of the WebdriverIO, it is basically a wrapper on top of your Selenium for browser automation, and a wrapper on top of your Appium for mobile automation. Okay, so that is how actually they built. Now when we are talking about a wrapper, what exactly it is? So it is basically they are giving extendable. So you can see extendable, which means that they are adding lot of helper functions, lot of some out of the box methods actually, where you don't need to write those many lines of the code to perform certain things. And I always, when someone asks that, okay, what are these helper functions? So I give them a basic example. So think about now in Java, like a basic question everybody asks, that there is no reverse method. I mean, if you are using string buffer, that's a different story. But then what is a helper function? So you create a reverse of a string where you will be taking that individual characters from the string, and then you reverse it by an array actually from the length to 0. You need to loop it to append into a variable. Now let's say that like there is a framework which is coming, hey, you know, you don't need to write those many lines of the code. I'm writing that and I will give you a out of box method, so that you just add the parameter, the string as a parameter, and the return type would be the reverse of the string. Okay, so that is how I give them the example of the helper functions. So this is the same case with WebdriverIO as well. So a lot of different they have evaluated what are the shortcomings onto the Selenium, what really a QA automation folk really need. So all those things, they have added their own stuff, and then they created this particular framework. Okay, so enough of actually what is WebdriverIO. Now I have created a short blog actually on this. So if you don't want to really watch this video, you can go into this. It's just 5 minutes of read, I would say, and then you can get started with WebdriverIO. Okay, so now why WebdriverIO and why TypeScript? So if you see that I have listed out couple of things. So one is, like as I spoke, actually utility methods are there, more commands. Commands are nothing but like different actions on the browser. Okay, and then out of box support for your shadow DOM elements. Okay, for in case of now Selenium 4 does provide the get shadow root, but then the same thing WebdriverIO is already providing those things. Smart selectors for React components, like if you are using React.js applications, then there are like out of box selector strategies they are using, and then several plugins. Now it become familiar actually nowadays. So every developer is coming up to create certain plugins which you can attach with your WebdriverIO. So it's basically a npm package which you can install. Let's say that you want to upload a file. So now we need to do several steps to do that, right? Now there would be like a contributor is coming and creating a plugin, and then they give you a out of box method. Okay, and you can directly install that package into your framework, and you can use their methods. So that is a basic example, but the same thing, lot of different plugins are available into the market, and which you can install, and then you can get started with them. So that is one of the flexibility with WebdriverIO. Okay, and then it also gives the native mobile applications, and it is supporting the Android and iOS. Okay, and there is a good integration with Chrome Dev Tools. So now after Selenium 4 given a lot of different CDP or Chrome developer protocols to handle those things, now all of the newly developed frameworks are giving out of box support. You can really inspect the network tab, and you can do a lot of different stuff into that particular browser application. Okay, and then easy installation, because it is a npm package. TypeScript is nothing but an npm package. You can just install by using npm install, and you can get started with. Now WebdriverIO, like in Selenium, if you see that you have to give lot of different options. I mean, you need to provide the the dependencies, or like you have to install one by one. There is no one-stop package if you want to get started with Selenium. But nowadays WebdriverIO and gives you just one or two commands, and then you are done with that. That is what we are going to see. And again, like it supports TypeScript, as I already spoke that TypeScript also, because it is a front-end development language, so that is, or the scripting language, most of different other libraries are also available to do assertions, to kind of do unit testing. Like for an instance, we have Mocha, Jasmine, JUnit. There are even lot more libraries are available for your unit testing framework, and also for assertions as well. Okay, and then as I told, it's a easy setup package. And then there are like because it is a front-end development language, so you have someone actually, if you are getting some troubleshooting, you do have the Google or like Stack Overflow. But at the same time, if you have any programming implementation questions, you can go to your front-end team, and then they can help you out of the box. So that is one of the benefit of using this particular tool. Okay, fine. So this is what actually made me interest to get into this WebdriverIO. Now there could be several reasons for you to get started with. Maybe your organization is willing to start this, or maybe you want to enhance in your career, or you want to learn different tools for your hobby or something, and you can come to the WebdriverIO and give it a try. Okay, fine. Now let's see how we can set up the WebdriverIO. So this is just a summary of like a step-by-step installation, but all of these things you will definitely get it into this WebdriverIO website as well. They have a very good documentation. It is just you need to get into this, spend some time. Okay, so even they have a couple of even courses are also there. You can opt it, that is from the WebdriverIO itself, and you can see a lot of different stuff they have mentioned. What are the fundamentals, then testing in action, even there is the advanced or the professional level testing as well. You can just enroll that. Along with that, there is a ebook that is in LearnPub, and you can just buy it and you can get started with. If not, then you can just Google around. There are a lot of different blogs, and then articles are there, even videos are also there. You can just get different perspective of different persons, and you can get it actually those things for your own practice, or maybe if you want to really doing a real-time project. Okay, fine. Now let's see how easily we can really install, what are the prerequisites, and how do we really get started with. Okay, so the prerequisite site is a Node.js, because it's a TypeScript and a npm package. We need to install the Node.js. Okay, so how do you really go? So you simply type Node.js, and in the Google you will get the Node.js. You always go with the LTS, that is the long-term support or the latest support. Actually, that is, you can see long-term support. It won't be the latest, but it will be long-term support. It means that most of the bugs are already fixed, and then it is stable enough. Actually, latest with stable. This is current. If you want to practice something, you can go with the current one. There might be some added bugs or something will be there. Okay, so you just need to download this. If you are using Windows, it would be an exe file. If you are using Mac operating system, it would be a DMG. But the installation is pretty simple. Just double click and you are done with that. Fine. Now, how do we really how do we really check it actually whether the Node.js is installed or not? So for this, the best option is that you need to go to the command prompt or terminal, and then you have to just say node -v, and you will see the latest version which is installed on your machine. The minimum requirement is 12.16.1. that is what the WebdriverIO says. Fine. Now it supports TypeScript, and we are going to write into the TypeScript, so that is why the TypeScript also needs to be installed on your system as usual. So there are like two different packages you need to install it. Let's say that you want to install as a global. Now there are two different types of npm installations. You might be knowing that. So -g is nothing but global. In this sense, throughout your system, any folder, that any project that can access the TypeScript, you have to install that -g. But let's say there are certain projects that need to upgrade your TypeScript, but then you don't want to upgrade the TypeScript for another project in your system. You want to keep different versions of the TypeScript. Then you can use -d. It's nothing but dev dependencies. Okay, but because we are QA folks, we don't really have hundreds of projects in our system. So that's why I always prefer to have -g, and then you can just use the command prompt and you can type npm install and then -g, and you can just say TypeScript. Okay, so this will install. It will take some time and install that. The same thing you have to do the ts-node as well. Now after done with this, how do we know actually the version of this? So you can say tsc-v and you will see the version of your TypeScript. There is a minimum version that you need to install the TypeScript, and the version is should be greater than or equal to 4.0.5. Okay, so these are the prerequisites. And then we need an editor, right? Like if you are using Selenium with Java, you need Eclipse, or if you are using C#, you need Visual Studio. The same thing for TypeScript. The most of the used editor is Visual Studio Code. Again, there are like several advantages of Visual Studio Code, because you can install this particular editor in different platforms. Okay, in your Windows machine, in your Mac operating system, you can use this. So I always prefer in any kind of Python or JavaScript or TypeScript, I always use this particular the editor. So it's again very straightforward. You just go to this link and you will see the stable build. Because I'm using Mac, it is showing. If you are using Windows, you will see the respective the exe files. So you can just install as usual. Once you are installed with that, and then how do we open that? Let's say on Mac, I'll just say Visual Studio Code, and then this is how actually it looks at the first time. I mean, I have some recent frameworks, but then you can see the normal ones only. So that's how actually you will see the Visual Studio Code. I have created I have edited this particular Visual Studio Code with the themes and everything, but then that is not our scope. You can just use as it is. There is nothing wrong in that. Okay, so we are done with the prerequisites. Now let's get into the actual WebdriverIO package installation. So what you need to do, you need to first create a folder. So let's say I want to create in this a new folder. Let's say that I will say WebdriverIO, and I will say that demo. Let's say something I'm giving here. Now here what I need to do, I need to go to this particular directory in my terminal. So in Mac I have set it new terminal at folder, so it goes directly to the same folder actually which I newly created. You can see there is nothing in this, so I will be keeping it down, and here I need to just run one command actually. So that is actually npm init, and then I will say wdio dot. So it will basically install the packages by asking couple of questions, and then it will install the WDIO package. There is a way actually where you can say -yes. It means that you are there are a couple of questions are there which will be keep on asking, and your answer would be yes in default. But then I always go with this so that you can always see what are the different questions and what are the different packages it is installing there. Okay, so npm init wdio, enter. And you can see it takes a certain amount of time, and you can see it is telling installing packages wdio CLI. So this is a command line tool actually which is packaged under wdio, and then it will install inside this. And you can see now it is asking couple of questions because we have not given the flag as yes. Okay, so now it is asking where do you want to have the automation backend actually. So I'm saying on my local because on my system I want to, but there are other options. You can keep it into the Sauce Labs, Browser Stack, Selenium Cloud. If you have the license, you can do that as well. Okay, on my local system. Now it is asking which framework, in the sense which unit testing framework you want to use it. Let's say I want to use for Jasmine. So you can just up and down arrow, you can do that to install the specific package. And then after that it is asking, do you want any kind of compiler? Let's say I want to go with the TypeScript package compiler. And now it is asking actually where are your test specs located, means where exactly you want to keep all your test cases. Let's say default it is giving, so I will just keep it on enter. And it is telling that do you want a boilerplate, it's nothing but a kind of sample code, do you really want? I'll say yes, and just type UI and then enter. Do you want to use page objects? So in that sample project, do you want us to create a page object? And I would say that yes, so that we can see. And where are your page objects located? I mean, go ahead and create the default folder and there. So I'll just enter. And after that it is asking actually which kind of reporter you want to use it. So there are a lot of different reporters are there. I'll just go with JUnit reporter, and there is no specific actually reason that I'm choosing, but you can just give it a try by giving different reporters and see what it is. So see, these questions are nothing but in that package what is your preference. Okay, let's say that you are more comfortable with Mocha, but then the default package is coming with Jasmine, so you have to again change that particular dependencies, right? That is why it is asking the question. There is nothing else in this. I'll say enter. And then it is asking that do you want to add a plugin? I told you, right? WebdriverIO has a lot of different plugins from the WebdriverIO, and also different community members are also adding. For an instance, let's say you are using Angular component. Do you want a plugin related to that, or do you want a wait for? So let's say that my application is not related to Angular at this moment, so I will be going for wait for. Okay. And then it is asking which browser driver that you want to really test it at this moment. Let's say as default I want to have Chrome driver only. But see, these are not like the hard stop that you cannot alter all these things. Like whatever you see, all these things, right? These things you can really change it later. There is no problem with that. You can change, you can add different packages. But at this moment, this is just a package that you are installing. Okay, so I would choose Chrome driver. And what is your base URL? Means your application under test. I don't want to write anything. I'll just say enter. Do you want me to run npm install? What is npm install? So it is basically, so all these packages which we chose right now, so this will be coming into a package.json. Okay, so when you say npm init, so init is a npm command which will create a package.json file into your project folder, and all these dependencies will be added there. If you are using your C#, then NuGet packages. If you are using Java, Maven or Gradle dependencies, the same thing. It is a npm file where it would hold all of the library names there, and when you run the command npm install, all the package names that are present inside package.json, it will install those libraries. Means it will download that from the specific repository, and then it will keep it inside a node_modules folder. I'll show you the folder structure as well. Okay, I would say that yes. And then after that, as you can see, so these are the different packages actually in the result of the answer that we gave there. Okay, so fine. Okay, I chose spec. I don't know, maybe it was just a right and up and down arrow, but then you can add it later as well. Okay, so as you can see, it just took certain amount of time and you are done with that. And it is telling that if you want to run the test cases, you would say that npm run wdio, so which will start your test case run. As simple as that. Or else you can even do this command as well, npx. npm and npx is like a similar commands to run your npm like your node packages, and wdio is basically the wdio command which you installed. Run what to run actually, so run this particular configuration. This configuration is nothing but which will say that what are the different test cases you want to run it, like your test.ng XML in your Java actually. So I will show you that. Fine. So now let's see how the folder structure really looks like. Before it was blank. Now you see there are a couple of folders actually it got added. Now if I maximize this, you can see there is a package.json, node modules which holds all of your packages which we installed, package log. So this is basically what you call the packages details actually. Each package detail will be held inside this log. You cannot really alter this one. Test, because I chose to create a page object sample for me, right? So that is how actually these are the test details it came. Kind of a very minute level of sample framework it created automatically by using the page object. Fine. Now let's see into the Visual Studio Code how exactly it looks like. So I would say open, and I will choose the project which I just created it, and it should be under my WebdriverIO, and you can see demo. Choose open, and you see that you see the folder structure as it is. Node modules, under this you have a test package, and under this page object folder and spec. Okay, and you can see, so this is how it looks like. Don't worry about these things. These are very easy concepts which we will see later actually. Okay, fine. Now this is where actually the actual test case is there under the specs. Okay, and the tsconfig.json is nothing but the TypeScript compiler actually. Now why do we need the TypeScript configuration or package? So basically what happens, the Node.js is to use to run your test cases, okay, or any kind of node related program, Node.js program actually. But the Node.js doesn't have an out-of-box feature to run the .ts file as it is. It has to transpile. Transpile is nothing but converting the TypeScript file into JavaScript. Then that JavaScript will be executed. That's how it works. So that's why tsconfig.json file is required. Even if you would have tried the Cypress, you would be doing this one as well. Package.json, as I told, this holds all of your dependencies or the packages that you want to install. And scripts is basically like it's, I would say that the goals, actually the npm goals, like you want to compile, you want to run, you want to package. So those things will be written inside this, so that you can just type one command and it does the compile, it does the run as per your script actually that you're writing. So these are basically the commands, you are giving a shortcut name to that. And there are a lot of other options as well, we will see in our future. Okay, fine. So package.json, ts.config, and then these are all of your page objects. This is your test case. This is the main component of the WebdriverIO. I said extended features, right? That is what actually they are adding here. It's kind of a configuration of your entire framework. Like, do you want to compile it automatically? Like anything that I am adding, it should compile so that I can see the compilation error as well. I don't want to explicitly compile it. Okay, now what is the configuration is present? As I said, underscore like tsconfig.json, you can see inside this it is there. That is under test and it took automatically. If you are keeping this tsconfig anywhere else, then go ahead and change this path. There are a lot of options, we will see that later, but then I want to just emphasize on these two things. Specs is basically what test cases you want to run it. Exclude is basically what are the test cases you want to exclude it. Let's say for some incomplete test cases are there, or there is some issue with your application and you want to skip it. So you can keep it for time being into this exclude. Later, once you fix it, you can just append it to the spec folder. That is how. And lot of other options like capabilities. We all know about the capabilities in automation, like what is the browser, what are the different capabilities of the browser properties you want to set it. If you are using Firefox, if you are using Edge, you can give all those details here. Okay, and then the log level, like what kind of logs that you want to really log it, you can keep it. Wait for timeout, what would be the timeout if there is any timeout is happening in your framework. So a lot of these options actually, as we go over one by one, we will be seeing all these things. Jasmine reporter, because we wanted a Jasmine options, you can give here as well. Fine, we will see in detail in our upcoming sessions, but then this is how actually the basic structure looks like. Now let's see how to run it, because they have already given, and you know, this is the test case and it is basically the describe and it block. We call it as the Jasmine way of giving the test cases actually inside this. So you will have a describe. In each describe there would be multiple it blocks. It blocks are nothing but each of your test cases inside this. And then you give async await. The TypeScript is asynchronous in nature. To asynchronous in the sense, it doesn't maintain the order of execution. Sometimes it open the web browser, let's say, and then it directly goes and do some verification here. It will skip these two things. That is why we use the async await to resolve the promises. So promises are nothing but like you first execute this. Once this is completed, then you promise that you will be executing the next one. Like you maintain the order of the execution. That's why we keep it as await async. Here you can see async and here it is await. Fine. Okay, so my test case is ready. Now how do I execute? You see that we don't want the Chrome driver because that is already installed while installing the your npm wdio package. Okay, so fine, now let's run this. So for this, if you are using Visual Studio Code, you have to open the terminal inside this Visual Studio Code. So you can say Control Tilt. So it will open the terminal, inbuilt terminal. You can see wdio demo, and here also this is the folder. But you are free to use the command prompt or your terminal as well, because it is also redirecting to the same project directory. Fine. Now how do I run it actually? So here, if you see the documentation here, I will directly take it as out of box and I will run this. Now you see that what it is telling, where is my test case? The test case is under this conf.ts. What is my conf.ts? If you come here, there is a spec, right? So if you go down, you see that it is under test specs, and I don't care about what folders are there immediately or wherever it is there under this spec, how many .ts files are there, all of those .ts files you execute it. Okay, but you can have your own specs as well, multiple specs also you can give by comma. Okay, so to run this, what I would do that I will go ahead and copy this particular command and I will run this one. So here I'll just say enter, and as you can see, it is giving the info level logs and it is opening the application into this browser. And this is a default test which is created by the WebdriverIO to get started with. And you can see there are different logs it is giving, the info level logs only. And here you can see what browser version, on what operating system, what is the session ID, what are the different test cases it logged in, and also it is giving the report as well. So this is nothing but the it block which we have executed, right? So that details it is giving, the time of execution, how many test cases got passed, failed, all those information it will be giving you. And also you can create an HTML or JSON reporting out of this. So that is how you can install the prerequisites, you can install the WebdriverIO, and also you will be running the test cases. So there are a lot of other features which we will be discussing one by one in our upcoming sessions. So stay tuned and do subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.